we saw the High Court hand a death sentence to two of the Susan Magara killers, and the others were handed a life imprisonment sentence. So we ask, why are judges still handing out death sentences, yet eventually they are turned into life imprisonment sentences?
The conviction of Abbas Musa and Hajara Nakandi for a death sentence, whereas in principle may not augur well with the campaign against the death penalty, it is consistent with the current legal setup, since the death penalty is still legal and acceptable under Ugandan law. We must be reminded that despite the gains we have made under the campaign against the death penalty remained an acceptable punishment as a rarest of the rare, particularly in cases of murder, and more particularly in the case of Susan Magara, where we are all shocked by the extent of the grievous harm that was occasioned against her and the subsequent killing. So indeed, as long as the death penalty remains an acceptable punishment under our law, judges can only be persuaded to confer life imprisonment to anyone who is being convicted. But if the evidence does prove to the fact that those who are convicted carried out the grievous acts and are therefore liable for conviction to murder, yes, it is an acceptable sentence.
Okay, thank you. I think that is really very clear, and that then brings me to the aspect you've talked about of your efforts or the advocacy that has gone on for quite some time to abolish or entirely do away with a death penalty as a sentence that can be handed to anyone. Could you update us on how far that has gone, what you've yielded, what you're working on now with regards to that?
Whereas the death penalty has not yet been abolished under Ugandan law and remains a lawful punishment under our constitution, the campaign against the death penalty in Uganda has made tremendous gains. Among them, of course, besides the right of appeal in case someone has been convicted to death, is the 3-year rule. As part of the campaign, the 3-year rule was adopted by the Supreme Court to the effect that once a person has been convicted to death and is not executed within 3 years, then the sentence automatically is commuted to life imprisonment. That is one of the gains of our campaign. Secondly, we now have what is called the rarest of the rare, meaning that the death penalty can only be imposed or is often imposed only in cases of murder. Under the act that was assented to by the president in 2019, we now have the rarest of the rare as one of the possibilities under which the judiciary can confer the death sentence. We also have the right to mitigation, which was not there before. If someone has been convicted to death, he has a right to have his or her sentence mitigated, which was not the case before. We also now have the 6 months rule, which is to the effect that if someone has been convicted to death and makes an appeal to the Committee on Prerogative of Mercy, that committee must come out with its finding within 6 months, which is now called the 6 months rule for the Prerogative of Mercy. Those are all gains out of the campaign. But besides that, the judiciary now rarely hands down the sentences, only in situations where the evidence is overwhelming and they are convinced that the best punishment would be the death penalty. They rarely now confer the death sentence. To the effect that at the time we began the campaign, we had 447 people on death row, but right now they are less than 100, meaning that the numbers have continued and drastically reduced of those who are sentenced to death. Also, in terms of public opinion, there has been a registered gain in the sense that, as many may know, following our opinion polls, 64% of those respondents to our polls were against the death penalty, meaning that public opinion opinion continues to swing in favor of abolition of the death penalty. We need also to be reminded that ever since the executions of 1999 in civilian cases and 2005 in the military court, Uganda has not executed anyone since then. So there have been substantial progress in our campaign, and going forward, we continue to create awareness about the need to abolish the sentence. We continue to commemorate the World Day Against the Death Penalty. This year we shall have it on 10th of October 2026. We are also part of the global campaign to ensure that the death penalty is abolished. And also Uganda, for the first time, did abstain from voting against the UN moratorium on executions, which means that there has been substantial progress in terms of public perception and, of course, acceptance of the need to provide or to confer alternative punishment to those who are involved in committing capital offenses.